With the come up, I want to be able to peel back layers, be honest, and create that space for us to talk about that aha moment. My name is Chasity Cooper, and this is the come up. Hey everybody, Chasity here, and I'm so excited to welcome you all to the very first episode of The Come Up, where I sit down with my fellow millennials and talk about things from struggles and stress and everything in between and what it means to be a millennial on a mission. I'm so excited. She is the author of Twenties Unscripted, the founder of TwentiesUnscripted.com, poet, speaker, artist, author, blogger, amazing Black girl magic, Tyece Wilkins. Thank you so much for sitting down with me.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. How's your 2016 going?
Amazing.
Yeah.
A great start to the year. Just a lot going on. Meeting great people. Doing things like this.
Yeah.
It's just good energy around the start to the year.
That's dope.
Yes.
So we'll talk about everything, but first and foremost, when you did the book Twenties Unscripted, what was that process like for you to go through so many different blog posts, so many different feelings, and you know, go back like years and years to like come up to the present day and tell a story? What was that process like for you?
I mean, it was a wild process, and I think a lot of writers don't like to revisit old work because you read it, you're like, whoa, what was I thinking? And it's very cringeworthy. So that in of itself is tough, to just go and read your old stuff and be like, wow, like, but then you see this growth and this evolution too of sort of where you are now. So that in of itself was its own thing and its own mental sort of process. And then just the actual process of curating it and pulling it together was a lot of late nights, a lot of all-nighters, a lot of just figuring things out as I went, figuring out how to do a pre-sale, what it meant to self-publish, how do I get a book on Kindle, how do I lay out a book, right? And I mean, my graphic designer, shout out to Emily Hedeman, is amazing, and she did a lot of that, you know, legwork, but then some of it was just me having to research and figure things out, and so there's just kind of that process too.
So talk to me about what it, you know, means for you as a 20-something woman to be vulnerable, whether that's in the workplace, whether that's you know, with friends and family, like kind of how has that played into your writing, and do you ever feel the need to choose between your head and your heart when it comes to making decisions sometimes? Yeah,
I mean, I think vulnerability for me is just how my best work has been created and how my strongest relationships have been formed. When I'm in that space of being open, of just being honest, of being raw, like that's where I think the best things and kind of the most magic happens. And so that's really important, but it's hard to bring yourself to that space. I mean, there's a lot of people that I'm not necessarily vulnerable with. I mean, but when it comes to my writing, I'm vulnerable 100% of the time. Like I have to be willing to be open because otherwise it doesn't translate. People can kind of see right through the BS of it. There's a practical side of what I have to do, and that's the 9 to 5, and that's keeping a roof over my head until I can figure out how to translate my passion full time. So for me, reconciling head and heart is very much finding purpose. I think purpose is how you sort of sync up head and heart, and knowing that if I'm living out my purpose and living what I know to be true day in and day out, it doesn't matter if it's my 9 to 5 or my writing or just me sitting down and having coffee with somebody. Like I need to always be bringing that purpose to bear, and that's sort of how I reconcile, you know, being torn between my head and my heart.
Totally. Now, a lot of people know that you're a writer, extraordinary writer, but you're also a poet, and one of your pieces resonated very well with me, particularly this week. It's called To Be Loved and Understood. So could you drop a couple bars of that?
I can.
Awesome.
Drop a couple bars. All right. I want you to see all of my dents and dark tunnels. Want your fingers to graze over all of my rough edges. I want you to see the mistakes, the mayhem, the mania, the utter chaos that is just being me in this moment. I want you to draw near. I want you to hang tight. I want you to hold on for dear life, not out of obligation, but out of adoration. See, all I ever wanted was to be loved and understood. Snaps, drop the mic.
Like that, yeah. It's so real, because I think in this day and age, when it comes to you know, our millennial generation and dating and being in like or being in love with somebody, we get caught up in so much. Like, what lessons have you learned as it, you know, relates to, you know, growing and becoming who you are, and then wanting to, or feeling the need to invite somebody into your space, or being, you know, wary of that?
Yeah, I know for me, one of the things that's very important is that someone is intrigued, not impressed. And so having somebody, I went on a date last April, and it was a great date. He was, you know, a great guy, but as I would talk about my creative career and my writing and my poetry, it was very much, oh wow, that's amazing you do that. And being impressed by somebody is very one-dimensional note, whereas when you're intrigued and you want to get to know what's the story behind that and where, you know, peel the layers back, that to me is way stronger and much more of a foundation upon which to build. So that's definitely important for me, just personally, and sort of who I am and what I do. Another thing that I like, and this is a Kevin Durant quote, is I need to be experienced in person. And that's tough because I'm a writer. I mean, people experience me oftentimes for the first time in my writing, but I need to be experienced in person. So what that means for me in dating is that, you know, in person beats phone, phone beats text, and texting is nothing. Like it just, I can't build with you on text. I can't really get to know you on text. I can communicate with you. I can know where you are. Are you on your way? Are you late? Cool. Texting is great for that. But when it comes time for me to build, it has to be in person. And so I think that's key for me. It's critical. And I think as with the world we live in and the fact that there's so much technology, people miss that. And they think that you sending me a heart emoji means something, and it doesn't.
Yeah. There's a point in time in this particular show I want to play a little game with you. Word association game. So if I say a word, you know, or phrase, whatever comes to mind.
All right.
First, faith.
God.
Okay. Writing.
Soul.
Passion.
Vital.
Michael B. Jordan.
Bae. I hate that word, but bae.
Yeah,
but bae.
it's Michael Bay Jordan.
Yes.
Just so y'all know.
Yeah.
Shout out to him. Culture.
Black people.
Okay. And I guess the last one would be, I don't know, inspiration.
Ooh, necessary.
Yeah. And where do you think, like, when you're, do you feel like inspiration is everywhere for you when you write? Is it really internal? Like, how do you kind of find your inspiration to create?
Definitely the former, that it's everywhere. That as a writer, you have to be in tune with the big moments and the tiny things. That it's, you know, any conversation, something you see, you know, sitting at a red light, what's going on around you. Like, I mean, there's not a moment where I'm not sort of on in that sense of just taking things in.
Yeah.
Because those little tiny things they become the details of your story. The big story, that is woven in, but the little things are so important.
Yeah.
And I know, especially like when I'll like start a blog post, how I sort of kick it off is usually with the tiny things, like those very granular, minute details.
Right.
'Cause that's how you bring people in. That's kind of how you really set the scene. So yeah, I mean, inspiration's definitely everywhere.
Absolutely. What does Black Girl Magic mean to you?
Black Girl Magic to me is it's support, it's unity, it's confidence, it's just knowing that there's this sort of tribe around you that has your back. And what that looks like for everybody is very different, but my tribe is strong, and just like there's always somebody who has my back, who's sort of helping to pull me up, and I'm pulling them up, and it's so vital. And I know when I started Twenties Unscripted, it wasn't with the intent to reach Black women. I wasn't there yet in terms of my journey.
Yeah.
But as I sort of grew and evolved, it was like, oh no, this is for Black women. Like this is my story. Like this is for these people. Yeah, I mean, to me, that's definitely Black Girl Magic. That and all the different things we do and the different things we create and how we look and feel, it's all very different, but there's sort of a common bond in those, and there's a shared experience there. Yeah.
For me, the come up is more so about talking to my peers and having these honest conversations about when that switch happened. When was that kind of like, you know, aha moment for you to be like, all right, I'm doing this not only for me, but, you know, the people around me who, you know, I could, you know, eventually pour into and support. So going into, you know, looking ahead to 2016, what is a piece of advice you would have for everybody watching as they, you know, look to take risks or they look to be on the come up in this new year?
I think the big thing for me is for everybody to put the blinders on. I think there's so much. There's infopreneurs and entrepreneurs and branding experts and bloggers, and there's just so many people telling people sort of what to do and how to do it, and that can oftentimes detract from the authenticity of our work. So I just think that put the blinders up, do what you love, and do it because you love it. Not because you're waiting for applause or you want to go viral or you want somebody to take notice, but do it because you love it. And that love and that passion and that talent will sort of come together in this sort of perfect blend.
Yeah.
And you will eventually get the recognition that you deserve and want. But
absolutely.
Yeah.
So where can we find you?
TwentiesUnscripted.com. Yeah, that's the blog. cspeakfield.com is where my showcase, I do an annual showcase, all of that content is there. There's another website on the way. I cannot
Top
say
secret.
I cannot say what it is coming in Q1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, and the thing is, like, a lot of people forget, like, we millennials, like, we're juggling so much.
Yes.
And what I love about you and the work that you do is, like, it's authentic, it's pure. You're coming from a place where, like, this is me and I'm honest and I'm being vulnerable.
Yeah.
And, like, I think 2016 is going to be an amazing year. I'm so excited to see everything that happens with 20s Unscripted.
Same for you.
Yeah.
Same for you. Millennial on a mission, man.
Yeah, we out here.
Yeah.
It's lit,
it's
as the
lit.
kids say.
It is lit.
But thank you so much
Thank you.
for sitting down with me and chatting with me. And you guys be sure to head to millennialonamission.com for updates. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram, millennial_OAM. And that's the end.
Happy 2016.
Happy 2016.
Yeah.
See y'all next time.
Bye.